Welcome to the Midnight Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Easton Bennett, alongside my fellow co-host, Tyler and Easton. We are both entrepreneurs who are learning, growing, and building our own businesses. Our goal is to share experience and knowledge to help you grow and become a successful entrepreneur. Before we get started, if you have any questions or things you'd like us to cover, you can email us at themidnightentrepreneur@gmail.com. Shoot us a message into the email. We'll answer it. Strap in. Tyler, how's it going?
Going pretty good, Easton. How's it going with you?
Good. I'm going to change this intro right now just so we never have to go through that ever again.
Seems like you say that every episode.
Yep, now I'm actually doing it, though.
All right, we'll see if it's different next week. Kind of looking forward to it, seeing what you switch it up to.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what it'll be, but I'll think of it while you tell us updates from last week. Tyler, what is new in the Tyler Sinden world?
Yeah, so this is my last week in Tucson. Kind of bittersweet, but happy I was able to come out here. When it does come out, this episode, I'll be back home, kind of unfortunately. So yeah, this is my last week out here, documenting it a little bit for YouTube. And yeah, had a good time. Had a good time out here.
Well, that's what I like to hear, that you had a good time. It is probably a little bit bittersweet, though. Are you more sad about it or happy about it?
I don't know. I think I'm just like excited to get back into my normal routine and get back to my desk, because I haven't been at my desk for a while. It's a standing desk, so it's nice to have it. This desk isn't very ergonomical. And then just kind of getting back and training with other people, because a lot of what I do here in training, I'm training alone. I'll probably still be training alone back home, but there are, in my opinion, more opportunities to train with more people, because I know a few other people that are doing Ironmans, whereas here I just kind of know one person. I only went with a bike ride with him for a few weeks or a few times. And then I also go in the swim class with all the other pros, but that's twice a week. So I might join a master's program or something back home. But yeah, I forget what the question was, but bittersweet.
Yeah, if you're happy or sad, well, at least you get to go back to the lovely weather. That'll be exciting for you.
Yeah, it's so much more nice than 70 degrees, sunny, no clouds. So much better back home. Yep.
Yeah, I'm excited.
You can't control the weather.
I'm excited for you too. It's still snowing here, so it can't be any worse than where I'm at. But yeah, hopefully you have a fantastic rest of your week in Tucson. By the time you guys are listening to this, it'll be already past Easter. Tyler will be already back in Canada. So yeah, hopefully it was a good week.
Yeah, it's going good so far. Got to start packing. I started a little bit, but I haven't put anything in the car, because the first thing I got to put in there is my bike, and I'm using my bike tomorrow. So I basically got to finish packing tomorrow, but I've started a little bit this past week, and tomorrow is going to be like the big pack day. And then Friday, I basically go to my swim class, come back, shower, and head out. So
what time is your swim class at?
8:15 till 10. And then I got to be out by 11.
Are you going to get everybody big hugs and everything? Say bye. I'll never see you again.
No, I won't be doing that. I think there's going to be quite a few people, or at least 2 people that are going to be doing Lake Placid. So the same race that I'm doing. So I might see a couple of them there, but yeah, won't be giving everyone big hugs.
Well, we'll see how it goes. Excited for an update next week on your first week back in Canada. We'll have to give an update there. What else you got as an update? Did you go over all them all? Sorry, I was changing the intro a little bit.
It's all good. I've just been thinking, like, recently, trying to like create an asset, and I don't know what it is. And my cousin and I were just kind of like joking around, talking about creating like a nutrition type of company. And I've thought about that, and maybe more so supplements, but it's not really like my avenue, just because I don't take any supplements like protein, pre-workout, any of that stuff, because I'd like to get everything as naturally as possible. And I've liked doing that. So and I know I've talked about it, where what I'm doing, that makes more sense around it, because training, I do take a lot of gels, carb mixes, that types of stuff. So it's like, maybe it's something around that, and that who knows what it would branch out into. But I've been thinking about more recently, trying to create an asset, because it's like, got to create a business, man.
I'm just praying for the day that you do one of these things, Tyler. I feel like creating an asset has been, it's been on the talking point for a couple weeks now.
Yeah. It's like being alone out here. You get a lot more time to yourself and like just thinking. And I do like that aspect of it, where it's like you got no distractions, and then it's just like you're spending time alone, and then it's just being able to brainstorm and come up with different ideas and different thoughts. And it's been good. I think that's another thing that'll be missing when I do get back home, because there's going to be like a lot more distractions around. So it's not as solitude or isolated. So yeah, I do like the isolation aspect of it.
We'll have to see. Yeah. Maybe you can get your own condo or apartment when you're back in Canada. You're just going to miss the isolation so much.
Yeah. Isolate myself even more.
Yeah. There you go.
I don't want to see anyone.
Sometimes you got to do that.
Yeah.
On my end, not a ton of updates. Just been getting through a lot of projects, crushing some work, getting a little bit of that quote unquote work-life balance back. Whereas before it was pretty much just wake up, work until you go to sleep. Now it's, there's some time where I'm just like, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to sit on the couch for 2 hours and watch some TV. So it is nice to have some of that free time back, where I'm not just eating food at my desk, but I do respect the grind that sometimes you got to do that. And that's part of the journey.
How'd you get that free time back? What'd you end up doing? What was different?
Just crushing through projects, trying to rip through all the edits that I was back behind on, and finally starting to catch up a little bit, which is good. But yeah, there was just such a bottleneck of projects that I had to finish. And I think I've got 3 left that should be done by the end of this week, and then pretty much back on schedule.
The editing grind.
The editing grind sucks absolute balls, but you know what? Got to do what you got to do. Another update as far as editing goes. I just wrapped up a project for a client, and I was going through their social accounts and then some of their competitors' social accounts, and you can see a drastic difference. And I basically asked that person, I said, hey, do you want to set up a meeting? Because we can get you to the point where your brand looks like this compared to how your brand looks right now. And I sent them some screenshots of their accounts compared to their competitors' accounts, and they're pretty excited about it. They wanted to have a conversation. So getting that scheduled after we film this podcast, which is exciting. And hopefully that turns into a long lasting relationship and a plethora of content that we get to create.
Cool. Do you do that often, where you scope out competitors?
I try to. After I work with a client, it goes into the opportunity pipeline that says follow up and see if they need any other work. And at that time, usually I scope out some of their pages, see what are some of the holes they're still missing, some of the gaps we can maybe fill, and then bring some competitors in. Sometimes it's hard to find people that are doing it right without going too big. So if you are comparing them to Apple or Nike, it's hard for it to really resonate. But if you can find some local companies that are doing it well, or at least local enough to be in North Dakota, you can show them, say, hey, this is what they're doing over in Fargo, or this is what they're doing in Grand Forks, and show them that. So I try to bring it in if I can, but sometimes it is a little bit difficult to find those competitors that's doing it right or doing it how I would do it.
What would you say is right?
Just as far as a brand goes, looking cohesive, like there was some thought put behind it. And that's kind of how this topic came about for this week's episode. But a lot of times you go to people's pages and it's all over the place. There's some graphics here with different colors, and then there's a photo, and then there's a photo with photo and graphics. And it looks like a hodgepodge. Like there's not much work put into it. One thing I'm really seeing is Instagram stories, or what do you call them? Instagram, the circle highlights. Yes. Instagram highlights. They don't have thumbnails for those, where it's just a random cropped in picture of a building or something. And then it's a cropped in picture of a table, whatever it might be. It just looks a little bit tacky. Whereas if you go to some of the competitors, you can see, okay, they put some thought and effort into the actual branding, especially YouTube. A lot of times I go to YouTube pages or Facebook pages, and the header isn't formatted right for mobile device or isn't formatted right for a desktop device. So just little things like that where you can see there's some intent put behind the brand, and then creating content around that to position themselves as this is a high quality establishment. So I do think there are some opportunities. It is for a higher education university, so a college. And I think one of the biggest gaps, I was going through a lot of the competitors' pages, is there's not a ton of like personal videos where there's a lot of people in it, or interviews or conversations. It's just a lot of photos, like snap a photo over here of this person walking with a backpack, or a photo here of some fans at a sports game, whatever it might be. So I definitely think there's a little bit of a gap in the market there to take a hold of that. So that's a conversation that we're going to have here in a couple of weeks.
Sweet. You know who does a pretty decent job with the cohesiveness and the story highlights?
Who's that?
This guy.
Yeah, your page looks pretty good. I'm not going to lie. I've got to work on mine a little bit. That's kind of also how this this topic got brought up. We're going to be talking about business to business and business to consumer, but it stemmed from branding. We were deciding between this episode and a branding episode, and we decided to do this one first. So maybe we'll flesh out the details of the branding episode a little bit and then get back to that one. But this is the direction we decided to lean. Tyler, any updates before we actually get into this?
Not that I'm aware of. Just trying to be better on YouTube because, man, it's a grind.
It's a grind. Gotta. I hate using the word grind, but you got to just literally push through it. That's the crazy part about YouTube. I had a conversation with somebody a couple days ago, and they were talking about YouTube potentially being a waste of time. Is it really going to get you clients? And I'm under the impression, and I've always believed, that building a personal brand is the number one thing you can do. It's the number one asset you can build. And to me, if you start YouTube, there's not really an area to fail, where it's not, you're going to start and, it might happen, it might work. It's really just putting in the consistency, creating quality videos. And if you do that for long enough, you're going to build a following. It might not be 10 million followers, but you might get 10,000 subscribers. You might get 100,000 subscribers. It's really just a numbers game rather than, is this a 50-50 coin flip? So
yeah,
stay on that consistency grind, which you're on it. I know.
We're trying.
Got to keep it rolling.
We will.
All right, let's get into this week's topic. We're going to be talking about business to business versus business to consumer marketing. It does change your thought process on, one, the business you're running. So for instance, I run a business to business company. Bennett Creative Media sells videos to other businesses, whereas Tyler's full-time job, they sell directly to consumer, business to consumer. So when you're looking at these two different avenues, there are some things you need to take into consideration when it comes to marketing and content creation. So Tyler, what would you say are some of those things that you should take into consideration?
Just, so obviously you got to know who you're talking to. If you're talking to a consumer, you got to figure out where they are, what they sound like, or what they would like to hear. And we had this discussion before, but I think both of them, you got to provide value first, whether it's B2B or B2C, because you aren't just going to be like, buy. And it doesn't really matter what you have. It's providing value first is my first thought, and just figuring out where they are. What do you think?
I'd say let's start with audience for sure, because I think that's the number one thing that you should start with is the audience. For me, a business to consumer company is focusing on people that might buy something online, right? So we're talking actual physical products, or maybe courses, something that's sold directly to a consumer. Maybe it's sold to my mom, it's sold to your brother, it's sold to your cousin, whoever it might be. So something, like a pair of Nike shoes, okay? That's business to consumer. They're selling a product. A service, if you buy a course, one person joins the course, that is business to consumer. So the way you market for that is way different than business to business, which is literally targeting people that maybe run businesses. Maybe they run a marketing company. Maybe they run some sort of division inside of a company. Whereas it's much harder to sell that product because the sales process is a little bit longer than it is to sell a pair of shoes. You might see an ad for a pair of Nike shoes on Instagram and like, man, okay, I'm going to buy that because it's $80. Whereas the business to business, someone can see your $10,000 video package, but it's much harder for them to just click that link, buy your $10,000 video package and go along with you. So those are the two different audiences that you have to look at when you are talking about marketing. And then again, it does go into value. I'd say that's the next thing. Actually, the next thing you could probably go into is where that audience lives. And then we can talk about some strategy.
Yeah. So it depends on, because like there are so many different avenues that you can market on. And I think with B2B too, but they can hang out in so many different places. So they can hang out on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, X, if you want to call it that, YouTube. It could be Google. It could be radio talk shows. It could be TV. There's so many different places that your audience could be hanging out. And it just, you kind of just want to focus. You can focus everywhere, but at the same time, you can just focus on maybe your highest ROI type of platform. And the best way to figure that out is testing all the platforms.
Yeah. And that's something where it's good to be on all of the platforms, but don't put all of your energy into all of the platforms. For business to consumer, TikTok and Instagram, maybe that's your route. More people are going to be looking to make quick, impulsive purchases on those apps. Whereas business to business, if you're looking for those business professionals or marketing professionals, maybe they're on LinkedIn. Maybe they're an older demographic, so they're more so on Facebook. Figure out where that niche actually lives and then tailor your content towards that platform. That's one thing in my own business that I've been thinking about recently is Instagram's great to be posting on Instagram and TikTok, but is my ideal audience really living there as much as they'd be on, say, a LinkedIn? So I think the content plan that I'm going to be pushing for a little bit more for the company is to focus more on LinkedIn, more so on Facebook, more so on YouTube, still be posting on Instagram and TikTok, but it's less of a problem to have to post on there compared to the other platforms.
Do you spend a lot of time on LinkedIn?
I scroll on it here and there, but if I'm just the regular consumer that I am, majority of my time is on Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah, I would say I don't spend like any time on LinkedIn anymore. It's weird. Like I made a LinkedIn account probably way back when I was in college, because when I was in DECA, all the business professionals would be like, you need a LinkedIn account. That's the first thing we go to look at if we're hiring you or looking to hire. And then it's just like, I don't know. I don't really care about that. There's this one girl in Arte. She's built a really good following on LinkedIn for creating her business. So that was really interesting to see her, because she spends a lot of time. I think LinkedIn's her number one platform, which is really interesting.
I would agree for sure that LinkedIn is huge for that when it comes to hiring. There's multiple times when I've went to look up a person that's maybe coming on my podcast, or look up a person that came up in a conversation, maybe a potential client. And usually the number one place I go to look at their business or what they're doing is LinkedIn. And I think that for business to business, it's huge. If someone is like, hey, I want to hire Bennett Creative Media, or I want to work with Easton Bennett, one of the top places I'd say they would go look would be LinkedIn, where they could say, okay, what's he posting on LinkedIn? What's his company doing on LinkedIn? Where it might be less of that than if someone searches me on a Facebook.
What do you think would be a good post on LinkedIn for someone if they're looking up your company and then they find you on LinkedIn and then they look through your profile? What do you think they would want to see?
Are they looking through the company profile or the business profile? Or the company or the personal?
Company.
I think previous work is good to show the projects that you're working on. Some behind the scenes stuff showing how things are going down. Maybe some case studies. Anything that shows you guys can accomplish the results that I'm trying to get. Because really, that's, if I'm to go look at a business page, I want to see, is this something that would benefit my business? I just went and looked at some link. It was like called Charlie AI or AI Charlie or something like that. And I clicked it, went through. I'm like, oh, is this something I could use for my business? It was super messy. I don't even know what the website did, so I closed out of it. But if I had gone to that website and been like, oh, this helps you do XYZ, it helps your business get from point A to point B, then I can justify in my mind, is the price worth it, and go from there. So I think that's the same feeling that you should be going for on your company social media pages.
I just thought of this idea. If you had, say, a camera just set up like way in the back, I'm just thinking of like the scene that I was at where I was with you and filming. If there was just like a camera way in like the back corner and it just got a glimpse of everyone and it just like time lapsed over that whole scene, and then like you could throw that on there and then you could kind of see like behind the scenes of like what takes place in you orchestrating scene or whatever it might be. I thought that could be like, because you could get like the setup, then you filming everything, and then all the behind the scenes people, everyone cheering, and then all that fun stuff, and then just tearing down. I think that could potentially be something that you could post in the future too.
Yeah,
Just
that'd be a good piece of content, and it's super easy to shoot too. You throw it up on a tripod, hit start, and then you just continue with your work. And going even more in depth in that, having someone there that's actually filming behind the scenes, whether it's tight shots of people, interviewing people like, hey, what are you doing? Oh, we're setting up this interview to look like this. We have the window on the back. We really want to make it feel like they're in a home because their product sells blankets for homes, whatever it might be. Getting those interactions, I think, is really good. It humanizes the brand a little bit more than just, here, I've been at Creative Media, and then it's a picture of a keyboard or something like that.
Yeah, connects a little bit more. I like the interview style of like just talking with people that are working there too.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm going to try to focus on for creating content, is having someone on set that can facilitate that, be a behind the scenes shooter where they don't really have any other jobs, just that. I've had behind the scenes photographers on set before, which is great to have, but having that video person is great for creating content for the company. So let's move a little bit into marketing for each segment. We're going to talk about our best practices from our experience. We've done marketing for both the business to business and the business to consumer, each of us. So we're going to talk about kind of what we think is good to think about when you are going about this. We'll start with business to consumer. Tyler, I know this is your favorite, so I'll let you take it away first.
I feel like a lot of it depends, because it goes back to your branding, and it's like, in your company, are you a company that is professional and selling luxury type of items to a high-end client? If you are, you're probably not going to be as casual, joking in that type of tone. You're going to be a lot more professional, laid or well put together, compared to, say, someone else that's, I don't know, selling silly putty or something like that. You're going to be a lot more casual, silly, joking around, and it's going to be a lot different. So I think basically what this comes back to is like building the brand and how you're going to portray onto other people, and like building that brand. Like Nike doesn't sell, Red Bull doesn't sell. They have their brand image and everyone knows what that brand is. So it just comes back to building a brand, and then kind of how you talk is part of the branding.
It all comes down to brand, honestly. If you don't have a good brand, it's really hard to do anything outside of that. So assuming you already have a good brand, it does take into account how you talk, because like Tyler said, if I'm selling private jets, that's the first thing that came to my mind. I follow the jet business on TikTok. If I'm selling private jets, that is business to consumer. But the way I handle that compared to selling a $5 rubber duck for the bathtub, it's going to look entirely and completely different. So you need to formulate your marketing and your language based on who your ideal customer is.
And that guy that's selling those private jets, he ain't wearing a tank top and shorts and flip-flops or anything like that. He's wearing a nice ass suit. You got to kind of fit the part, and that's part of the branding.
Oh, for sure. He is definitely, he's dapper, as people would like to say. Which is good. I mean, that's something I think about a lot too, is I'm trying to sell high ticket videos. At what point do you lean towards your brand being, yeah, professional, awesome, but we're also a creative
like
company. You know, we are creative. So like we might come with jeans and they're pin rolled up and someone has a backwards hat and a ponytail, whatever it might be. Like that leans more so towards the creative field. But if you're supposed to be that professional, if I want to sell a $50,000 video project, would I have a better chance wearing a suit and tie? Maybe. Who knows?
I think for it, yeah, it's tough for that because at the end of the day, all you really care about is the results that you produce for your specific industry. It's like, is the video good or not? Is the video high quality that portrays your brand? And like, if it does that job, do you really care how that person dresses or looks? And then some people might say yes, some people might say no. But I think what we do a lot at work is providing value. And I think that's really for both B2C and B2B. You want to provide value first, whether that's educational or entertainment. And for us, we do a lot of the educational aspect of it, where we provide information about different costs. And I think Element does a really good job. So it's a company that I would buy a lot of their, what is it called? Electrolytes and salt from. They provide a lot of valuable information on the educational aspect of it, where they have the blog, they have a newsletter that they always send out, and just trying to educate their audience on sodium intake, electrolytes, and all that fun stuff. So I think providing value is a really important aspect of it as well.
And the difference between providing value that way and providing value business-wise, where business, maybe they care more about, hey, here's the value that I'm going to pay you $1 to do this video, and this dollar I pay you is going to return me $3. So you're providing value, but it's in a different way. It's through your product, it's through your service. Whereas the business to consumer marketing and whole process you go through, there might be products that are incredibly similar. Nike versus Under Armour shoes. That's where you have to have that education, that value, that brand, because you can pick either one. It's a flip of a coin. Whereas on the business to business side, you really need to nurture your clients. You need to show them that, hey, this is how we get you from point A to point B. We're solving specific problems. Whereas any shoe that you buy could solve a specific problem to, I need shoes to walk outside today. That's kind of the difference that I see.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like B2B value to provide. Like, do you have examples of like what that would be, other than this is the product or service you have. I'm going to give you X amount of dollars, and the value that you're providing me is in the exchange there. Do you have like the educational or entertainment aspect of it for a business, B2B?
I think it's more results driven, where you can say, hey, here's some analytics. Here's how we got, maybe it's a case study. Here's how we got company A from this point to this point. Here's how we solved their problem. Or educational on maybe have a really intricate product or intricate service where you need to do some explainer videos on, this is actually how it works. There's some sort of AI company that you set up in your company and it saves you 20 hours a week. Well, someone might not know what that is on the surface. So that content might be, okay, we're going to educate you and provide value on how our service actually works so you can make an easier decision. Or maybe it's cost related. You could do that in either B2C or B2B, but cost related. If someone doesn't understand, how much does something like this cost? You can break it down. This is what we have to do, blah, 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 blah. So those are I think it's more education rather than the flip side, where it's more so just showing lifestyle changes and benefits. This is actually solving specific business problems. I don't know if I answered your question or not, but
I think the interesting aspect of it comes in when you think of Neil Patel, because he provides a lot of value, but the value he provides seems to be B2C, and the consumer doesn't seem to be the person that actually, he has multiple different businesses, it seems like, because he has like different tools that the consumer can use, but at the same time, that consumer could be a business. And because I'm pretty sure he gets like Fortune 500 type of companies for his business, his marketing business. So I think maybe it just means that once you provide all this value, you become that thought leader. And then it also helps attract top talent because you're that thought leader in the industry. And it's like, if anyone wants to be a really good marketer, go and work for Neil Patel because he's the best in the industry or something like that.
And you have to become that thought leader. That's what I was saying before the podcast.
Yeah, because you have to post.
Yeah. So becoming that thought leader, if someone has a budget and they come to you, a Fortune 500 company might not just be like, we have a budget, we're going to buy it because you got from point A to point B. You're going to buy from somebody that is, quote unquote, a thought leader.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm glad we came full circle and you understand what I'm saying now.
I still think that B2C and B2B have to provide value.
Yeah. And I never disagreed with that.
Trying to make it seem like you were. You're like, B2B is more imperative.
I think it's more imperative to become a thought leader in B2B compared to B2C, whereas I can run an ad for $80 shoes and get people to buy them. Yeah, it's great to build a brand and it's great to provide value like LMNT with the blog and everything, but I would think it's more imperative I need to become a thought leader on video production because that's going to win me more jobs than if I run an ad to sell rubber ducks that are in the bathtub.
But how does... Yeah.
You could cherry pick. You could cherry pick companies from both that obviously fit for both. Like LMNT, they do a great job at that branding and providing value. But you know how many times I've bought something online just because I saw an ad for it? They didn't provide me any value other than, oh, this looks cool, I'm going to buy this. So that marketing and that way that you're marketing to that person looks a lot different than if I can't run an ad to sell a $10,000 video.
What about a beanbag chair?
Beanbag chair, yeah, I still haven't gotten that.
Do you think you'll ever get it?
No, I don't think so.
That was a long ass time ago.
Yeah, it's like a year and a half ago. So if that shows up, I would be very surprised. Very, very surprised. All right.
From a drop shipper?
I think it was from a fake company that was taking money. Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah. Otherwise, it would have been here.
That's not good.
That is all right. All right. We're kind of lost in the notes here a little bit. What do you got?
So would you say becoming a thought leader is imperative?
Yeah.
So how does everyone become a thought leader?
By posting content.
How do you stand out if everyone's doing it?
Not everyone's doing it, though.
But going back to my first question, how do you... Okay.
I think everyone can be a thought leader. Obviously, the market's going to be super saturated if everyone's posting and everyone's being a thought leader, but the number of people that are actually doing it at the level most people are on, obviously I'm not competing against a Martin Scorsese when it comes to video. That's two different kinds of thought leaders, right? But if I'm talking on the local level in North Dakota, or I'm talking on even the Midwest, that is a lot smaller to become the thought leader than trying to compete with Martin Scorsese or Quentin Tarantino, whatever it might be.
How did they become a thought leader then? Because I don't think they created content other than the movies.
They created movies. It's probably a bad example, but I can't think of like a top end person in the video production field.
The only guy I really think of is, well, I guess there's a couple, but Parker Walbeck.
A Peter McKinnon, a Parker Walbeck, yeah.
But I don't think Peter McKinnon really does those types of stuff, though, does he?
But he is a thought leader in the video world.
Yeah, but I don't think he... Where's this B2B?
This B2B is brands hiring him to shoot projects.
Does he do that?
He shoots projects for companies, yeah. So him amassing a following and becoming this thought leader is turned into that. Same with Parker Walbeck. Him becoming a thought leader has allowed him to work with some of the biggest brands ever and charge for that. But he might
thought
not have
he
been
was-
able to work for Hyundai if he wasn't a thought leader. Because I guarantee there's a lot of people making good videos out there that no one sees because they don't have an online presence.
So do you think you need an online presence for both B2B and B2C?
I think, yeah. I think every company should have an online presence. Might not be needed, but it's never going to hurt.
So when you're branding, do you think you should build the personal brand or the business brand?
Both.
Both. All right.
I think they open up avenues. Each of them opens up a different avenue. A personal brand opens you up to do stuff outside of just your business. I might have a personal brand that grows to 100,000 subscribers, but I can talk about video. I can talk about business in general. Maybe that opens up a consulting area and I don't have to do video. Brand deals for YouTube, whatever it might be. Whereas a business, you grow a business, that's going to open up working with bigger clients. Maybe you don't have as much flexibility for that. So building both is important. You have to decide what's more important to you. Do you want to put the same level of effort into both of them? But yeah, I think it's important to build both of them.
Yeah.
Do
I would
you?
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to build a business brand at the same time when you're just starting out and you don't have a brand, say a personal brand before. So I think the personal brand can and usually does come first. And then a lot of people, once they do build a personal brand, they like to branch out into a business brand. I know Charlie D'Amelio and that family did that. And so many other people like Logan Paul, he branched out. Kai, or is it Kai? I don't know what it is. They ended up branching out into Prime Energy drinks. So a lot of people work on the personal brand first, and then they develop that following, and then they either partner with a business or they try and siphon their audience into a business.
It gives you a kickstart into creating business for sure. You could have started a Prime Energy drink, but the come up of making it uber successful is going to be way harder if you don't have a $10 million follower following already. So starting a business like Jake Paul, he starts Prime, much easier to be like, hey, here's my new business. And like that, overnight, it's super successful. So you can definitely do it. It's just a lot harder. That's why personal brands are so important and that everybody should be building one. Unless you're satisfied with not making a bunch of money, maybe at a local level, you're just like, yeah, this is good. I make enough money. I don't ever want to expand outside of my area. But those people are losers and don't listen to our show.
Bunch of losers.
Exactly. All right. What do you got else on here, Tyler? I think we got all hodgepodge discombobulated on the notes, but I think we covered a good portion of it.
There's a lot of businesses that do both B2C and B2B. I think Microsoft is, a fairly good example because they are very consumer related, but at the same time, they can market to a lot of businesses where businesses be like, we have a fleet staff of 2,000 people and we need, I don't know. The only thing that's coming to my mind is MacBook, a Windows computer. I don't know what it's called. Yeah. So, but when you look on TikTok, you see a lot of these main company brands, say like Ryanair or Microsoft, and a lot of people will be like, no way, this is on the official account. And it's like this younger generation is connecting with the younger generation and they're posting like silly, funny, stupid stuff. And it's connecting with those people and it's standing out. And I don't know if it's translating into sales, but it's translating into a lot of brand awareness.
For sure. And you have to do that, especially when it is something like where you're marketing to business and business to consumer. You have to be personal enough, and it goes back to making your business page personable. It has to feel like there's a person behind it because no one wants to just buy from a business. But if you see the Hershey's account comment on someone's TikTok, something funny because some 21-year-old social media manager wrote it, that makes Hershey's seem way better. It makes them seem personable. But if they never responded to anything, they never commented on anything, it's like, yeah, it's just Hershey's. Whereas connecting with that person does, I would think, I don't have the numbers, but I assume would drive sales in the long run. And if not, it builds brand.
Yeah, I think TikTok's helped a lot with building brand. And the weird thing is, I think with the smaller accounts, the smaller like account or businesses, I think some of them do typically get bashed on when they do some of this stuff where if it was like a massive multi-billion-dollar company, everyone would be freaking out. They're like, no way, they just did that. Whereas like when a smaller business does it, they just get pissed, or I don't know. It seems like there's a interesting dichotomy there.
I think it comes down to everyone thinks you're crazy until it works. You do something weird enough and then you get enough of a following and then it's just normal. And people are like, oh yeah. But when you're doing it in the beginning, everyone's like, oh, look at this loser doing this, or I can't believe they're commenting from that page, whatever it might be. So.
Uh-huh.
All right, Tyler, you got anything else on the episode?
I don't believe so.
All right, let's move into this week's business idea. Came up with it last minute, so I'm excited to see how this goes. Tyler, what do you got for us?
Yeah, the grocery notifier. I know for me, I eat basically the same thing every single day, and it just goes into like a repetitious pattern. And I'm pretty sure, I know there's subscription boxes and stuff like that, but like those I think are kind of a scam, to be honest, because I think they send too much in too short of a period of time, and then you just end up with an overflow of too much stuff. And I think some people are just too lazy, and that's why they just go with the subscription based boxes. And I think they're moving more so towards like smart fridges, where it's going to be able to notify you that your groceries are getting low. But if it's able to like algorithmically figure out how often you need certain things so you never run out of that certain thing, that would be really interesting. Because like it's like, oh, you're down to 6 eggs, you need to get eggs now. And then it's like it makes like an optimized grocery list for you. So it's like, and you go at optimized time. So it's like, instead of going 3 times a week, getting 3 different things at 3 different trips, you go once a week and then you end up getting, say, like 7 things, and you never actually run out of your groceries, and you don't really ever have that overflow of groceries at the same time as well, because it's so optimized that you're not doubling up or tripling up, and it's like you're able to get all the same stuff over and over again at the perfect time.
So you're leaning more towards a smart fridge. It'd have to have a bunch of sensors in there sensing, okay, eggs are low. There's this many eggs. The cheese looks like the cheese package is getting a little empty. Bacon is half empty.
Yeah, maybe a smart fridge. I don't know.
And there's some algorithm. Because I don't know how else the notifier would be.
Yeah, I don't.
Like an app?
Yeah, maybe it like connects to... I'm very... I'm not one of the common ones here, but I track my food daily, and that being able to connect it with that, and then it would be able to know exactly what I'm buying. And then it's like, oh, you ate this today, and then you went through all that stuff. So it knows how much I'm eating and how much stuff is left. Yeah, there would have to be a way for it to know what you're eating and how much you're eating. So I don't know if there's like sensors on the shelves or whatever it might be. Maybe there's like different things in the fridge and the freezer.
It'd be cool if you could just take a picture of your receipt and upload it to whatever it is, and it can dissect, okay, this is what he bought, and then maybe do like a 3-week trial. You have to upload 3 receipts, and then it does some algorithmic thing. It's like, okay, this is what he ran out of, so this is kind of the time frame we need to plan for. That might be interesting. I like that.
Yeah, so seems like everything's just kind of going like algorithms and AI type of shit.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Is it though?
I don't know. Not really. I just like to say that like everybody else.
Fair enough.
All right, Tyler, anything else? I gotta get back to finishing this damn project.
I think that's pretty much everything.
All right. Hope you guys had a fantastic Easter. That was fantastic. Easter is on Sunday.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You'll be back just in time for it. Nope. March 31st.
March 31st?
Yep.
I thought Easter's in April.
No, I thought so too, but apparently it's this weekend.
Interesting.
Yeah. So,
All right.
Enjoy Easter. We will talk next week on Tyler's first week in Canada. That's episode 82 of The Midnight Entrepreneur. If you have any questions you'd like us to cover or answer, you can email us at themidnightentrepreneur@gmail.com. And if you found value in this content or found this entertaining, share this with a friend or post it on your story. And if you really enjoyed the show, we'd love a rating and a review wherever you're listening. Talk to you guys next week for another episode of The Midnight Entrepreneur.
What separates good content from great content is willingness to take risks and push the envelope. Brian Halligan.